and we've got a spooky matchup coming for you. Two very well-known players, Igor Costa and Phinnegan Lynch.
Yeah, so Igor here is playing Drampa Garb, and we have Phinnegan playing Night March.
Wow, so we've got Igor bringing back Drampa Garb. So we saw it once yesterday. We saw Brad got to play it on stream around round 7 or so. It was really interesting to see that deck coming, basically making a little bit of a resurrection coming out of exile after everything. But Night March, we all know how that one goes, so it's really going to be a kind of close matchup. Brad's definitely got text and everything in there. He plays the Oricorio, he plays the Tauros, that'll help him in the matchup. So let's see how effective he's able to utilize those tools that he's put in for this matchup.
Yes.
Going through the list and everything here, they're pretty straightforward. On Finnegan's list, probably the most interesting card actually that we're going to see in here is actually a single copy of Countercatcher.
Yes.
So Brad has to be, or Igor has to be a little bit careful because I believe they've played already in Swiss yesterday, so they know each other's decks pretty well. So Igor's going to be on that lookout for the Countercatcher, knowing that if he goes over aggressive, it's going to give him an easy out to the Garbotoxin or whatever he's got sitting there on the bench.
So we see Phinnegan Lynch starting here with his basic Night Marcher, and as well as a Zorua, and it looks like a Tapu Lele. He has Wonder Tagged, going into his deck looking for his supporter.
And so with everything here, Phinnegan, he's got a couple of different options. So normally, you see a lot of the times a Night March player might try to use a Getsis on the first turn, but with Igor's deck, he does play a decent amount of items, but not to the same extent that you might see a Night March player or some of these Zoroark decks. He shouldn't be as susceptible to that first turn Getsis as you would see otherwise. So I feel that Finnegan's going to be probably trying to prioritize setup. Maybe a Hex Maniac.
It looks like he was eyeing that Hex.
Right, because the biggest thing that you might want to stop from Igor's side rather than the items is you really want to stop the Bridget on the first turn, getting a couple Trubbish, getting the Tauros on the bench, and the most common way that you're going to see the Bridget is usually going to be from a Tapu Lele. So this is usually one of the most effective ways to shut that down.
So we did see that he took the Hex Maniac, and he has gone with a Battle Compressor right now. Going to thin his deck, getting his Night Marchers into the discard.
Picking up his couple Lampets, wants to make sure they go in there pretty quickly. They're the first ones that you want in there. Maybe a Joltik, in case you're going to getting the Marshadow going pretty early. Now, Marshadow is primarily in the deck for the Zoroark matchup that everybody's been seeing all over the place this weekend. But at the same time, it's also really effective against Drampa, also weak to fighting. So if Phinnegan can get that Marshadow down pretty quickly, and not have to worry about the Garbotoxin either, then that's going to be able to put him in position so he doesn't have to overextend and take out that Drampa. He actually needs 5 Night Marches in a discard pile, or even less if he actually finds access to his Choice Band as well. Only needs 3 at that point.
So we do see the Hex Maniac go into play.
And glancing a little bit at Igor's hand, I actually saw a Tapu Lele in there, and I don't know if there was much else. I saw a Tapu Lele, a Teammates, an Energy, so it looks like he even drew a second Tapu Lele there, so he's not going to have a whole lot to do. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah. Plays down the Tapu Lele, is unable to Wonder Tag, so he attaches his energy to his Drampa, ends up with a Float Stone onto that Lele, just for that stability and making sure he has a benched Pokemon, just in case he is knocked out next turn. We do see a Big Wheel GX getting that 10-card hand now for Igor. Hopefully he'll be able to come back from that.
Absolutely. This is probably one of the most ideal turn ones you can have in terms of what you want to do for an attack. Unfortunately, not the setup. No Trubbish on the bench or anything there, so he really had to be careful with benching that extra Lele without using the ability. The Tauros, while it is actually an extremely effective card in this matchup, you don't really need to use Mad Bull. You just want to kind of have it for a wall, so he's not really going to be upset that he uses GX attack early.
Right.
In fact, this is probably the only time he'll ever get to be able to use that Big Wheel.
You do see the Trainer's Mail come down from Phinnegan. It looks like he does go for the Puzzle of Time. And we go back for another Battle Compressor, going to just get more Night Marchers into the discard, set that deck up, so we can start hitting hard.
And so here's where we're going to see some top-level moves here. So Phinnegan, I see him putting that Marshadow up to the top, and I feel like he might even be putting a Floatstone in the discard pile. He grabbed that puzzle because I'm sure he's got another one already in his hand. This is going to allow him to basically use that Battle Compress. There it is, Floatstone, Marshadow. We're going to see him do exactly what I mentioned a moment ago. Conserve his resources to try to play around with Igor's Oricorio, but use it for that Marshadow for the early knockout on the Drampa to try to take advantage of that fighting weakness.
Yeah. An easy 2-card prize right there.
Now, the only thing is, Igor does play several copies of Trubbish from Noble Victories, which has a tool drop, and Marshadow is weak to Psychic. He's going to have to put a Floatstone to get this play off, so there's already going to be 2 tools in play for Trubbish, as Trubbish counts tools from both sides of the board. So, between that and now the Shaman on the bench, I think it's definitely leaving himself susceptible to some really strong plays on Igor's side, but he's going to have to move quickly.
As we do see the Ultra Ball come down, discarding the Tauros, as well as it looks like a Guzma. Let's see what he goes for. He goes for another Joltik.
I feel like from Finn's side, you kind of want to see a Zorak coming out. He hasn't actually played a supporter, and he does have a Professor Sycamore that he put in the discard pile last turn, and a Via Seeker in his hand. So I can easily see him grabbing that Joltik just so he can dump it in the discard pile, put that extra Night Marcher down there. They set up the knockout from Marshadow, and really all he's looking for off the top 7 is a Zorak to be able to keep him going for the next few turns.
Exactly. So we will see that Professor Juniper played. He's currently thinking about it. But there we go.
Seeing that right there. So if you notice, he actually discarded a copy of Dimension Valley. He knows that Trubbish play is an option, so he doesn't want to give Igor the Dimension Valley to be able to pull that off, because Igor actually doesn't play a copy of his own Dimension Valley whatsoever. So he just made it so, you know what? If you don't play Dimension Valley, I'm not giving it for you. You'd have to trash Lynch. You don't have a Trubbish. There should be no possible way that this Marshadow gets knocked out on the following turn.
Exactly.
This is almost everything that Phinnegan could really want on his first couple turns. Really got to get a huge advantage by going first and playing that Hex Maniac.
Yes. Just as time has told us, going first with Night March is always the key to victory.
Absolutely. I mean, you can only imagine it would have been such a different turn. Igor would have not only would he have been able to use that big wheel like he did, but he also would have been able to bridge it, putting the Trubbishes down. So just a much better turn overall if he wasn't forced to put down that Lele without getting an actual supporter or anything.
So we do see Phinnegan play the Dowsing Machine, the A-spec for his deck.
And one of the interesting things about when you're playing against Oricorio versus playing against Karen when it comes to Night March counters is Oricorio, you just need to make sure that you keep your bench set properly. You never have too many on the board at one time, so it's much easier to play around than Karen, because with Karen, you also have to watch out your battle compressors, because at any point they go back into the deck altogether, which is something you really got to be watching out for. Oricorio is more just about the actual board, what's on it, and not giving them the chance to ever take 2 prizes at once with that Oricorio. You see him getting rid of a couple usage cards there. I don't think the Ranger's going to come into play very much in this match. Interesting that he goes for the Dowsing for the Battle Compressor. I think he knows that Igor's goal is going to be to get that Garble Toxin out.
Yes.
Try to slow his roll, so he really wants to get as many of those, clunky cards out of his deck, keep it streamlined so that the Garble Toxin end play, it's not going to be as effective against him as the game goes on.
We do see another Shaman go down for 3.
Putting the second Shaman down, that's, it's got to make you feel a little bit uncomfortable as Finn, just because you're giving him so many different 2 prize options on the board right now. I don't believe Phinnegan plays any copies of Parallel City, but Igor Costa plays 3. So I think Finnegan's trying to play into that knowledge, knowing that there's a good chance that he's going to have to play a Parallel City down, and hopefully getting rid of his own Shamans and everything in that process.
Did see Phinnegan bring down his Zoroark, by the way. So it's good to see that out. But I do agree with your analysis on that Shaman is kind of a liability.
Right. I've always heard you always want to make sure that you play to your outs, and right now, Igor's best outs is going to be using those Shamans, using the Marshadow, maybe forgoing attacking the Night Marchers altogether, and really trying to just get a board set up so that way he can be using Guzma after Guzma to be able to take the prizes that he needs to close this game out.
See Igor searching. He went with an Ultra Ball. He brings out the Oricorio you were just talking about.
Now, Igor is a smart player. He's back. He's constantly over at the World Championships placing. He's got a first place. He's got a second place. He's got a top 8 in there. Igor really knows what he's doing when it comes to matchups that are really on these close levels. So one thing you can do with Oricorio is you don't always have to use it for the knockouts right then and there.
Right.
Igor plays a rescue stretcher. He plays a super rod. He plays a dowsing machine. If he's smart, he can actually put a lot of damage on the board now, maybe not take any knockouts, set it up for another Oricorio to come afterwards, and just keep using Supernatural Dance, which allows him to place his damage counters wherever he wants, see if he can take multiple prizes all at once. Because right now, Finn only has one Night Marcher that's actually on the board.
Yes, and we did see 2 Trubbish go down on Igor's side. In his Culver's hand, we saw a Garbodor. He has options at this point now.
Do you see 30 go on the Shaman? We do see the Joltik get knocked out. Igor does take the first prize. He doesn't want to go too far behind here, and he knows that putting that extra Joltik in the discard is only going to add more damage to Oricorio in the run anyways. Going through, Phinnegan's really going to be put on a clock with this Oricorio. Igor knows what he's going to be doing with the bird. Supernatural Dance really puts a totally different pressure. Like I said, they've already played in Swiss previously, so Finn knows that Igor's going to prioritize that. He's got the double float stone in place, so he can keep trying to push it out, Use Garbotoxin to slow down Finn in the process. So he's got an arsenal, he's got a good set of weapons that he's able to use to combat the Night Marchers. It's just a matter of if he can pull it off and keep it consistently flowing the way he needs to.
Agreed. We see Phinnegan here trying to debate if he wants to put that DC on that Zoroark. I don't think this is a bad idea for him right now.
Right. This is going to be a way to he can try to make it take a knockout here without actually having to put additional Night Marchers in the discard, knowing that the Oricorio can make a comeback immediately.
Right. We did also see him trade away a Lampent, and here comes a double puzzle.
Definitely like the Zoroark play, because Igor doesn't really have a good option to take a knockout onto the Zoroark unless Trash Lance starts going nuts, but that's a lot of items in the discard pile. Zoroark is resistant to Psychic, so it's basically 230 health. Even with a Choice Band, you need 10 items in the discard pile. Now, looking through, he might actually be at that number already. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, it's close.
Yes.
It's really close. I can't really see exactly how many in there, but it's somewhere between that 8 and 10 number. If he's able to, I can tell you what, he's got to have 8. So if Igor can actually find his 1 copy of Field Blower, that should be able to.
That would be it.
I'm going to actually assume that there's actually already the 10 in there. I think that's why he played the Via Seeker. He's confident. Phinnegan says, I'm just going to be able to take knockouts on your 2 prizes. I'm going to rush this game, finish it as quickly as I can. Doesn't really matter to me.
All right, we do see the Guzma come in, where Finnegan's just like, well, I'm going to just retreat and come back, so don't worry about it.
Right.
So we do see the Marshadow back into the active position. We do see a Zorua come down onto the bench, possibly going for another Zoroark. Keep trading away.
Having a second Zoroark on the board is definitely going to be something useful. Again, even if it's getting one shot by Trash Lance, it's a big hit. It's got a lot of health. It's got the tradability and everything here. As long as Igor, it's going to be kind of rough at this point because Igor is in a position where he's got at least 3 turns before he can really win the game, most likely. So, but Finn, he's already down to 2 prizes. Even if Igor doesn't put down another EX or GX Pokemon, he only needs 2 turns to be able to take his final knockouts.
Agreed. So we do see Igor play down a Tapu Lele. He is Wonder Tagging. What do you think he's going for right now?
I feel like he needs to kind of go for some cards. He needs to try to get a Garbotoxin or that Trash Lance on the board. So I could easily see him going for the Juniper or the N.
Which he did. He went for the N.
Right. He's going to put Finn down on 2, self to 5. If he can knock out this Marshadow with anything this turn, he's
in a good place.
Right, because while ending him to 2, Finn still will need to find at least 1 more double colorless energy. He's only got the 1 on the Zoroark if this Marshadow goes down, so he's got to remove as many resources as possible from Finn's arsenal so that he hopefully can't pull that off.
We do see Trashalanche Garbodor come out to the bench, and we evolve into Herbotoxin Garbodor. Abilities are shut off.
Making sure that Trubbish has been in play for a turn. And this is pretty good for Igor. He's got a Garbotoxin and Trash Lance and another Trubbish to be able to follow it up. Had to use Lele, but he knows I've got 3 copies of Parallel. I'm just going to get rid of it off my bench right away, so that way you can't even have any chance of winning the game on the following turn.
Igor ends Phinnegan down to 2, while he will draw 5. This will probably slow Phinnegan down just a little bit. That's what Igor wants right now. He doesn't want him to get any more prizes for his comeback.
Yeah. I'd love to see a field blower from Igor to take off that floatstone on the bench. I want to make him force Phinnegan to promote that Zoroark right away, knowing that it's the only one with a DC and everything on the field.
See Igor looking through Finnegan's discard. He's checking out what's there, checking his items, checking out those Pokemon.
I'm pretty sure it looks like Igor whiffed the Psychic Energy.
I think he did.
I don't think he's going to be able to take the knockout on the Marshadow. He's going to be forced actually to try to put Supernatural Dent and maybe take out one of the Shamans.
Yes, he's going to have to promote his Oricorio, which is unfortunate for Igor. But we do see Shaman leave.
How many other damage counters does he get to put down? It looks like he didn't put any additional, so it means he's got exactly 8 Pokemon at the discard pile then. So that's good to know. 9 now with the additional Shaman that just got put in.
Yep.
Finn, I don't really see a way for Igor to be able to pull it off this turn. I mean, Phinnegan should just be able to go attack, announce his attack twice, and really should be it.
Should be it. We do see him debating a Field Blower. Oh.
Does go with it. Garbotoxin is offline, gets his abilities back, so he's going to be able to trade. Pretty good card to fight off your end too. He's one of those Field Blowers. It's his only one that he has as a copy in the deck.
We are Battle Compressoring away an N, it looks like.
Looks like Finn's going to try to take a page out of Igor's book and go for that same end play, so. It's 9, 10, 11, 12. Looks like I saw 12 Pokemon in Finn's discard pile. Which means that he should have a few more damage counters on the board. I'd imagine that they're doing the math right and everything like that, so yeah. Say that I probably just saw more than I thought.
So we have also a Gets Us come down for this Battle Compressor, and the final card will be Battle Compressor as well.
Again, he knows at this point, he just wants to make sure that anything in there that's not going to help him isn't going to be clogging out his draws for the rest of the game. He's going to be probably playing this in this turn, using one of his trades. And again, I don't really even know that he needs any cards. He just needs to ensure, I would imagine, that that Zoroark is going to be able to take a knockout on the following turn, and there's really no reason it shouldn't be.
You see him draw another DCE off that Juniper, as well as the Zoroark.
Oh, yeah.
He is sitting pretty right now.
And I think I see a Pumpkin in his hand. I don't see there being any play that Igor could make to be able to pull this off. If anything, maybe dragging up a Zoroark and hoping it never moves and supernaturally deaths. Like, you really are in that position now as Igor Costa, where you're hoping and praying, looking for some sort of crazy out that you need to be able to pull in order to take this game back into your hands.
But if anyone can do it, honestly, it would be Igor. Fantastic player.
I would agree. He's definitely somebody, he is no stranger to the spotlight, no stranger to the TCG stream here. It may be our first time seeing him this weekend, but I promise you, he's a name that you will definitely be seeing again.
You will probably be seeing him again on stream. But we do see on Finnegan's side, he gets another Joltik out. His little Night Marchers come back.
He's down at Finn being down to 1 prize. I'm not really sure what's on Igor's mind.
Game 2, probably.
I would say that's probably the best thing to have on your mind is Game 2. What does he need to do different to be able to make this, the strategy and everything play out the way he should?
Set up faster.
That's for sure. Yeah, going first is definitely going to be a big help there as well.
Yes, Drampa does rely on going first a lot as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, after that Hex Maniac on the first turn, it really made for a troubled start on his end.
Oh, goodness. Ooh.
I'm just acid spraying all these dad jokes out today.
Oh.
I just can't keep it in. Going through, and he gets just double checking all of his resources. At this point, this is something you see a lot of top level players do. The game may be over, but you just want to double check every resource you possibly can. Make sure you know everything that they had in their arsenal. Study and learn as much as you can from the match. Overall, the matchup should be pretty back and forth, so I don't really expect the players to go to time. So they're pretty confident taking a couple extra minutes just to see exactly how the last couple turns are going to play out.
So we see Igor grabbing. Let's see. A teammates.
Teammates is definitely going to be something useful in his deck because he wants to always be stringing knockouts and everything, stringing his attackers. Teammates is really good because they have a lot of single copies of different cards, such as their single rainbow energy. So it really allows them to get better access to things like that.
He did grab the basic energy as well as the float stone. Help get that Trash Lance off. Shut those abilities off.
Yep.
And Igor will go off and get that Marshadow.
And all he needs is a single basic Pokemon, and that Zoroark takes out Trash Lance, and there you go. And
Yep.
we're on to game 2. Phinnegan Lynch takes the first game. Igor Costa shuffling up, thinking about how he's going to do, what he needs to make a little bit of adjustments. What kind of plays is he going to have to make to be able to try to take the second game and maybe even the series right away from Phinnegan Lynch?
Phinnegan is just going to do exactly what he does best. Play Night March. It's a strong deck.
Absolutely. It's fairly straightforward. He knows this matchup in and out. I can only imagine. Like I said, they've played before and everything on stream already once, so they are fully aware of what they need to do, each one of them, in terms of to be able to secure the victory and stop your opponent's outs and everything all throughout. Igor definitely opting to go first here. And
Does not look like he has a base. Oh, he does.
He's got I think I saw a Trubbish as well. I'm not 100% certain. He knows he's going first, so even if he's got a second basic, no really need to bench it until the turn actually starts. So.
Right.
Both players briefly. And we do see, it looks like I see a parallel CC. That's pretty good.
Does have the DC. We do have a mulligan from Phinnegan. So that extra card will actually be very key to Igor.
It could be. So it's definitely something that could be different. I don't see any way to get to a Bridget in his current hand. So now he's got 2 more cards to draw, one from the mulligan and one for his turn. I could easily, definitely going to be looking to try to find a Bridget or Lele, an Ultra Ball, any of those things that he can get because he missed it the first game, and it really made a difference as they started going throughout.
So he does start Drampa, and we see Phinnegan start with Pumpkaboo. Going first with a Drampa, I think, is very strong for Igor. He has options such as Big Wheel for turn 2, in case he needs it, and overall, it's a very sturdy Pokemon.
Looks like Igor forgot to draw his mulligan, and yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to be getting it. But he did draw Trubbish off the top, so that's going to be something that's definitely pretty helpful here. He's got a Juniper in his hand, but there's quite a bit of resources. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not a
Bridget.
Juniper. That's Bridget. So he had exactly what he needed already. Perfect.
The natural Bridget.
That's always the best way to get it.
The greatest gift in this game.
Absolutely. Oh, natural, as I like to say.
So, this is a trashy bench.
Getting it as best as he can there. Oh, he's really collecting all the garbage. All right. We'll slow it down a little bit. Don't worry. We're on a bit of a roll here. But this is a little bit of an interesting setup. Igor opting, he's like, I want to make sure that I have as many possible attackers as possible that are non-EX or GX. I'm going to get all 4 of my Trubbishes. That way, Trash Lance is easy to get out. Garbotoxin's easy to get out. I can, if you put a Dimension Valley in play, I'm going to make sure that I get to be able to use Tool Drop. Now, what's interesting about that is he opened Pumpkaboo. So
yes.
He's going to have to put a Dimension Valley if he wants to be able to use Pumpkaboo's attack this turn.
Mm-hmm. And we did notice that there's that Parallel City. Phinnegan is limited to just 3 Pokemon on his bench. That, for Night March, is awful when you're setting up. You need those Shamans. You need to cycle through your deck as fast as possible. This will slow Phinnegan down.
Absolutely. It's definitely going to be a little bit of a hindrance to his setup. Interesting to see, we did see Igor use that double colorless energy to retreat into the Trubbish. He didn't even want to give Finn a chance to be able to take 2 prizes on his first turn. Finn knows that there's no Karen in his deck, so if he had the cards to do it, I would only imagine he would have taken the opportunity to take out the Drampa if it was still active.
Mm-hmm. So we do see Phinnegan get his Zorua.
Really like the play that Igor, because he put him in a position where Finn says, all right, if you want to take the knockout, you got to put a Dimension Valley in play. If you put a Dimension Valley in play, my Trubbish is going to come up. He's going to be able to return the knockout easily. If he doesn't, Igor's got the Trubbish ready and active. He can evolve into a Trash Lance, and Finn only needs 3 items in his discard pile to take out a Pumpkaboo. And I can tell you there's going to be 3 items in his discard pile at the end of this turn.
Do see a Battle Compressor. He is digging through this deck.
Already got over 3 items already in his discard pile, so Trash Lance is going to be able to take out the Pumpkaboo, going to be able to take out Joltik, whatever it needs to on the early games here.
which is he with this the prize trade of these decks. Igor has a very strong position right now, I'd say.
Absolutely. It's definitely a lot better than what he saw first game. You know, it's going to be a lot more comfortable for him. He's going to be able to be more fluid when getting out the Garbodors, whether it be Trash Lance or Garbotoxin. We did see Finn put a supporter as well as 2 Night Marches in the discard as well.
Yes.
So he's going to be setting himself up for the next turn. He got the Zorua down that he really was, you know, you really want to see as a Night March player. So overall, not too bad of a start either for himself. Could use another Night Marcher on the bench, but I know he's got them.
Does have a Joltik in hand should he want to play it. He does play down another Pumpkaboo though.
I think he's trying to be really, really careful with that Oricorio, being as careful you can not to bench too many Joltiks since they're only 30 health. Don't want to give your opponent too many options to be able to take those out freely.
And since Parallel City is still in play, that's 1 bench space left for Phinnegan. He possibly wants to wait for a Shaman so he can dig more.
Igor did decide to fill up his bench here with this Wonder Tag. Pretty nice. He didn't have any actual supporters or anything in his hand, so those will allow him to draw a couple more cards here through Juniper. He's got the double colorless already in hand. I don't know that he's really going to want to attach that double colorless because it's not going to actually secure him a knockout in any way.
Not at all.
But what's interesting is that they actually only play 4 Psychic and 1 Rainbow. If you're discarding that double colorless, that means you're committing to hopefully find the Psychic and the Trash Lance. And there's not a whole lot of cards to be able to do it. You got to, you know, there's got to get at least something on your side there.
Right, we do see Garbotox and Garbodor come down. Abilities are off. Detrimental to Phinnegan. Should he find that Shaman now, it is just dead.
Right. Igor does end up passing it back. He did not find the Trash Lance Trubbish or Trash Lance Garb. And wow, we just see an immediate pass back from Finn. He plays no cards out of that hand whatsoever.
Wow.
Put himself in a position that was not something expected. Igor immediately laying down a Sycamore. You can see him pick up that pastel play.
We have the Ultra Ball in hand as well as the basic energy. We will see this Trash Lance come down.
Absolutely. And he even got the Rainbow Energy on the Trubbish this turn, so that Drampa is now active for Berserk, assuming that it actually is alive. I don't really know if that's going to be too relevant, but if Finn does put a Lele down on his bench, Drampa does give him an option to be able to take out for a free 2 prizes easy.
Right. We do see him debating on bringing up the other Pumpkaboo. Not as if he had many choices here. I agree with the Pumpkaboo. Do want to try and save your Zorua, to try and get your Zoroark for that trade. Oh,
Trader's Mail, it grabs him an Ultra Ball, though, unfortunately, and I don't know that that's going to get him very much because of the ability lock and everything in play. He decides not even to grab anything from it. He says, you know what, it's not worth it in my hand. I'm not sure if Phinnegan has anything going. He may have a VS Seeker considering he put that teammates in his discard pile. Might be why he passed last turn. But see, as he's just pointing down cards, where does he actually to go with this?
Does not look like he had... Oh. Goes for the Guzma.
This is the only interesting thing. When you put down a Garbodor with a choice band, you make yourself susceptible to this play. And here we go.
The Field Blower, we replace it with a Float Stone. See that Garbodor suddenly light as air, floating back to the bench, or that Trash Lance Garb.
Right. It's a great play from Igor right there. I mean, that was exactly what he needed to have, is that Field Blower. Didn't even have to waste a Guzma. Still got to take out the Joltik and everything there. And even got the energy attachment on Drampa to have it ready for the next coming turns. This is just usually the opposite way you see the match go. Usually you see the Night March player take the first 2 prizes, maybe take the early lead with Oricorio, whatever it may be, using it to surmount, to try to overcome the early prizes that Night March took. But here with Phinnegan, that wasn't the case. Igor took the first 2 prizes, and Phinnegan hasn't even put down an energy yet.
I think that parallel, along with having all of these Trubbish, was a really hard spot for Phinnegan.
I mean, I do see, since he's playing the teammates, I know he looks like he grabbed the DC and the Dimension Valley, so he's got enough Night Marches on the discard pile, especially with the Trash Lance being weak to Psychic, that he'll be able to at least take his first knockout this turn, but he's still going to be in kind of a tight position. No Zoroark on the board. He's really going to have to be doing a lot more than just this going forward.
Yes. Do see Igor promote the Garbotoxin Garbodor with the Float Stone. Yeah. Just as a little, buffer for now. You can retreat it at any time, so...
Right. Trash Lance number 2 hits the board. Now, what's interesting is because of Dimension Valley, that Trubbish can now attack with Tool Drop if he gets enough tools in play. So, we'll see as he starts to play supporters and everything, which ends up.
It end up evolve. I'm not sure I would have done that, honestly.
I'm curious as to why he chose to evolve that Trubbish instead of the one for garbage collection. I feel like Tool Drop would be more relevant of attack than the garbage collection, but Igor Costa is the one that knows the matchup, so I would imagine he knows something out here. He must be using it to probably get back some key resources or anything later in the game, or he may even just know, well, I'm probably just going to evolve into a Trash Lance anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Right. We do see the retreat into Trash Lunch with now a choice band. It takes the Pump right out. Things are not looking good here.
Igor Costa going up. He's at 3 prizes now. Phinnegan's still at 5. He's only been able to take 1 out so far. He does have a Juniper that he got last turn from that teammates to make sure that he's been able to have a live hand this turn. But Garbotoxin's still in play. There's only so many things that Finn's going to be able to do at one time if he's not able to grab a Field Blower.
Surprisingly, a lot of the cards that help pilot Phinnegan's deck rely on those abilities. We have the trade, we have the Shaman for setup, we have Marshadow. They're all lame ducks right now.
Right, and lo and behold, he managed to actually, right off the top, he drew the 1 Field Blower right before playing the Professor Sycamore, so if he gets his Zorak out this turn, he'll at least get to use trade for 1 turn, assuming that Igor doesn't have another Floatstone in his hand, which, looking at it briefly, I believe he actually does. So, we'll see how long he actually is able to keep the trades going.
Phinnegan currently debating. We have a Battle Compressor. We're getting rid of a Getsis, a Tauros, and an N.
Again, Battle Compressor has so many uses. Besides being able to fuel up your Night Marchers, it's really great because you can just thin out the deck, get all the unwanted resources out, make sure that your end game plan, whatever it is that you've got in plan for your end game victory, make it as clear as you possibly can by compressing all of your possible outs.
Exactly. We do see the Shaman for the setup. Fantastic. He does have an Ultra Ball in hand should he want to go for the Zoroark.
Right, and I can only imagine that he wants to get trade online as quickly as possible. It's only going to fuel him and be able to keep this setup going even longer.
Do not see him go for it, but he does take a prize. Do see Garbotoxin promoted again, but sadly it will be stuck there should Igor not have the Floatstone.
He does end up going for a Wonder Tag teammate, so Igor doing the sequencing right here, making sure that he puts down Wonder Tag before reactivating the Garbotoxin here. He's going to be able to grab whatever 2 cards he wants. Being able to grab 2 cards means that he's definitely going to be able to knock out this Joltik. Don't really see that being an issue whatsoever. I could see a lot of different plays being a possible option here. He's got the ability to even grab the Oricorio to take some prizes. He can knock out the Zero on the bench with Oricorio. A couple different ways he could go about this turn. I'm interested to see which way he decides to pilot it.
You see the Ultra Ball come down, discarding a Tapu Lele and a Juniper.
Looks like it's probably going to be, so he just super routed back both the Trash Lance, one of his Trubishes, and an Energy, which is pretty nice because he only plays 2 copies of Trash Lance. This is a way that he's going to be able to keep these non-EX attackers going. He does have a couple of EXs and GXs on the bench, which can be problematic, but at this point, Igor's about to put himself down to 2 prizes. As soon as he's at that 2 prize mark, Finn's got that Shaman sitting on his bench with no way of picking it up besides Sky Return. So it's just it's a matter of a single turn at any point now for Igor that he can be able to steal this game from Finn.
You see the Zoroark come down with a Floatstone.
Garbotoxin is online again, and Phinnegan only plays 1 copy of Field Blower, and he plays the Dowsing Machine, but he actually had to Juniper away the Dowsing Machine on the first turn. So without playing a Guzma to knock it out, Garbotoxin is going to be online for the rest of the game at this point.
Do see the VS Seeker come down from Phinnegan, searching for what looks like to be a Getsis right now.
I would only imagine, could also even see Getsis, could see a teammates, but
does go with an N instead.
I think he's kind of at this point where he's just like, look, I can make plays here, but at the same time, I need to make sure Igor can't win this as well.
Right, he needs to slow Igor down, and is one of those perfect comeback cards that we've seen for so many years now. Slowing Igor down with just getting 2 cards.
If that dice is accurate, there are 9 Night Marchers in the discard pile, so that is going to give the knockout to Pumpkaboo here. So he's already going to be taking prizes, and then now, actually, the playing field is going to be pretty level. So if Igor doesn't get his own parallel city, he's actually going to be in the same spot as Finn. going to have a non-EX, excuse me, he's going to have an EXGX on the bench. Finn's going to be at 2 prizes. It could be either player's game in the next turn.
You see the Pumpkaboo take out the Tapu Lele? Oh, not yet. You do go for a Battle Compressor before the attack. Thinning out that deck, making it more streamlined so he can just continue this.
Yeah,
Come back.
At this point, Finn just wants to put as much pressure as he possibly can on Igor, see if he can do what he can to be able to steal away the victory, so that way he can take it in a 2-game series. Anything he can do to avoid a game 3 at this point.
Alright, we do look like to see a Joltik coming down. That's the only card he takes with the Battle Compressor. His deck is pretty thin already. He doesn't necessarily need to take anything out. The joys of Battle Compressor are that you could take from 1 to 3 cards. It's super versatile.
Now, on Igor's side, really all he needs is a Guzma and a double colorless synergy, and he's actually just got the victory by taking out that Shaman. Well, Berserk actually isn't active yet, so just need a choice band as well. Being that he's only at 3 cards because of that end, I don't really see it very likely that he's going to pull off the victory this turn, but it's definitely an option. Now, if he decides to take out this Pumpkaboo here, that's going to be kind of interesting, because Finn, like I said, he does have that 1 copy of Countercatcher, so this could be that moment where it really comes and makes a big shine, because Igor could be at 1 prize and Finn at 2. Finn could make it it would make it a lot easier for Finn to be able to kind of take a knockout of one of those bench EX or GXs, because he won't actually have to use his supporter to do it.
That's right. We see Igor looking through his discard, counting numbers, making sure things are where they belong, seeing if anything's prized that he needs. Goes for a Colress.
Be a fresh 7. Now, I mean, if you're Igor, you've got to be looking for basic and your parallel city, because if you can just bump off your Drampa and your Lele from the bench this turn, don't even really have to worry about taking the game this turn. You could just make sure that your opponent doesn't have an option to win the following.
Right, we do see DCE drawn from this, but it does not look like he has that condition you just described.
Yeah, he's got an Ultra Ball, but it doesn't look like there's a parallel city, and even if he grabs his Shaman to try to find the parallel city, well, Garbotoxin's online, but even if he could draw cards, that would put a 30x on his bench, and it would end up just nullifying the point in the first place, so.
He ends up discarding what looks like to be a Floatstone and a Juniper for this Ultra Ball, getting out another Garbotoxin. Not Garbotoxin, Treshlinch. My apologies.
Going through here, though, I mean, that's going to be able to set him up so he does be able to pull up a knockout here.
But that does bring up the issue of, does Phinnegan have the Countercatcher?
Right, he can use the Countercatcher, he can use the Guzma. I mean, Garbotoxin is online, so he's going to have to do all this without using trade, but he's got, looks like about 5-6 cards in his hand.
He has a pretty thick hand.
If he has access to Puzzle of Time, I mean, there's a couple different ways that he may be able to pull this off.
You see the Ultra Ball, he gets a Joltik out.
DC Choice Band, Via Seeker, Guzma. Yeah. It looks like Phinnegan's going to be taking this series 2-0.